We're back on live streaming. We're back on live streaming. That's wonderful. All right, thank you very much. So we've just dealt with those matters that we need to deal with in confidential, and we have got a suite of resolutions here that Councillor is going to speak to. So there's some changes in red, and just for Matt, I'm not sure if you've got those, Matt, emailed to you. You have, fantastic. Thank you very much. That's great.
I'd like to make an amendment.
It's been moved and seconded, has it? Yeah. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Ricker, seconded by Councillor Courtney. Now you want to make a change, Councillor?
The amendment needs to go to number 50, and I would like as the chair to call for a report on spending that additional proposed 510,000 up to. I'd like to know whether where it is in the camp is the right place to put it as well. It's part of that report.
You want it in a report on the project is
To investigate.
Request staff to report back to the SB&P subcommittee prior to works being undertaken. That's perfect. This is the words I was trying to get out my mouth, but you've managed to get them on your business. A stunning job, stunning job, stunning job. You've written so many.
This is my hour of the day.
So you've sort of written so many recommendations for
just
today.
procedurally, would that then have to come back to council as they only have powers to recommend?
Depends on what the report says.
No, I think it would depend what the report says. So if they decide that it's all in order and they just note and feel that it's good to go, then they've got the money and they're away. Okay.
Yep.
Speaking to the recommendation.
Yes, so the Maitai Valley Motor Camp is in a floodplain, and so before we invest reasonably large sums into upgrading infrastructure, I just think we need to take that strategic step back and just consider the future of it. Now, I'm aware that there has been previous reviews, so I don't necessarily expect this to be a start from scratch. I would anticipate that previous work would inform what goes forward to the Strategic Development and Property Subcommittee, and as an interim measure, that the reduce the cap on the number of Maitai motor camp users in accordance with the comments raised earlier by staff.
Thank you very much. To speak to this one, I'm happy to support what you have there. Officers, do they need any other final comments from the officers? Chief Executive and Mr. White, any final comments that you need to make? It's been moved and seconded. I'm about to put it. Are you happy with what is there?
No, my only comment would be that it really will depend on what decisions the matter around the Maitai Valley Motor Camp.
You need to come on the microphone, otherwise Matt can't hear what you're saying.
I can.
Oh, you can? Oh, gosh.
Good hearing, man.
So all this is happening sort of on the hoof. So obviously we'll have to consider what the implications of the future of the camp, but even reducing the size of the camp and the interim may still mean that we're non-compliant, and we appreciate it's all at the last moment, but that report may still have some requests for unbudgeted expenditure, but it's probably better to do it at that stage.
I think so. That's great. All right, we're all happy with that. I'm now going to put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you. Carried. Okay. All right. Now the next item. We're nearly there. The next item is if I've missed any pages, someone's going to have to let me know. I think I'm at the. Come back to page 93 is the note I've got now. 93.
We could either just do.
Oh, this is the recommendation around the spreadsheets. So sorry team. Here it is. Notes. Just add the deputy mayor into that clause 44. You happy with that?
Yep.
Deputy Mayor, and we're good to go on that one. All right, care to move? Councillor Neil Stevens would like to help as well. And you want your name added in there? You're very welcome. Yeah. You're extremely welcome. I'm going to put the motion, all those, moved by myself, actually not moved, but moved by Councillor Neil Stevens, seconded by Councillor Courtney. I'm going to put the motion, all those in favour.
Aye.
Aye, against carried. Thank you. Now, moving
Back to 99.
back to 99. All right, now we've got 56. Which is 56, Councillor? That's the carry forwards. We're coming to those now. This is on page 99. So now we have the carry forward budgets and they're set out in the attachment. The majority of the carry forwards, I think, as we've talked through, they are timing issues. They're well set out in there. I haven't had anyone raise any particular issues in relation to the
Can
carry
we have
forwards.
just the total, please? I'm sure everybody knows what it is.
The total for the carry forwards is
4.8 million, bottom of page 98.
bottom of page 98. 4.8 million. Thank you very much.
That could be
Right.
put in there, I'd be grateful.
Proves the capital carry forward
Of
4.8 million. You said it's 4.8 million?
Oh,
Just-
so through the chair, it's actually spread across 3 years, so it's
Oh, it
actually
does.
just a reference.
It's actually, yes, so I actually think, and it does, and even by the time we get to year end, it will move because something will be further along in the project step and will have been invoiced and paid for it. So I think you're better off just to note it in the way that it is, councillor, because it moves so quickly. You're looking at, you've got 35 projects underway at any one time, sometimes more. All right, so that one has been moved by Councillor Neil Stevens, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Brand, thank you very much. I shall put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Now we're going to the depreciation reserve and the long-term plan. Is that the last two that I need to do, team? I just want to make really sure that I've got them all. That's the last two. Now, what I'm going to do is say to you, I think we will need to do this. I think actually that is the right recommendation to do this. And so we'll do both the depreciation reserve. It needs to go back to the ratepayers. I think that's the right thing to do. We talked about the start of the day. I think we will continue with that. And then we've got the draft long-term plan. That is, so that's that one. That's the capital expenditure budgets. We've done the final wind-up of the community housing depreciation reserve. That is at 23.1. Does somebody care to move that recommendation? Councillor Courtney, thank you. And I have a seconder. So seconded by Councillor Noonan. That I don't have those ones in front of me. 57. Oh, 57. Yes, it is. Thank you. All right. Thank you. That's very good. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to put it. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye, against carried. Now I really need you to pay attention just before we do the approves the long-term plan be amended, including changes to the attached documents, listing corrections, timing changes and attachment 3. Have you all you've had a look at that one? Everyone's happy with that one? Yes? Officers are happy with that?
Yeah.
Attachment 3. Nikki's happy with that?
Big page.
Moved by Councillor Laurie. Thank you, Councillor Laurie. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Skinner. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Now, the team are just checking that we've got everything in. And I'm now going to ask you to do something as an absolute goodwill gesture and consistent with our vision and our priorities and what we've agreed as a council. So we've been working our way through, Nikki, through what we've added in today, and actually you've done incredibly well. We've stuck pretty much to the recommendations. At the start of the session, we've added some things in that has seen us move a bit up from 5.7. I think, Nikki, is that where we're at the moment?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
slightly up from 5.6.
Slightly up.
Not materially.
Not materially
I mean, lots of jiggling around with the climate reserve. which
Yes, there has been, because the
didn't
climate
actually make
reserve has meant it hasn't made that much difference to go through. And so I'm really going to ask you to pay attention to this, because I'm going to ask you, as I said, to do something that is consistent with our vision, consistent with the submissions that we had, consistent with our priorities. Earlier today, I was really concerned that we're going to be way over, hitting up above our cap. And we got to the request, we went through the Climate Forum funding, and we had an option to put 100,000 in there, as opposed to, and that didn't go through. My real concern around that was that we were going to be well over and sitting up there. As it turns out, with the progress that you've made today, we'll be a bit over, we'll be up over, just over 5.7, but it's pretty good. It's only a snippet over. So I would like us to put the extra 50,000 in now for the Climate Forum. And I'm really asking you to support this. I think that would be a sign of absolute commitment to what we're doing. You don't need to all support it, but I actually think it would be a really good thing to do. It's a shame all of our colleagues aren't here, but I just wanted to give this a go today to say, look, I actually think that would be what I would ask is that there's got to be some clear reporting on the performance. And so if you felt that you could support that, I would greatly appreciate that. If you feel that you could support it for 1 year and then to get the funding, if that was where I had to compromise to do for the first year and then get the reporting to confirm the next 2 years, or subject to satisfactory reporting after year 1, then year 2 and 3 would be approved, I would appreciate that. Or even for year 1. I just feel like we're at a step change point where you saw the Climate Action Plan come in, and actually for several of you said that was one of the best documents you had seen. It was a really good document. It actually was good. So questions, Councillor Edgar?
So I do like some of your some of your statements around the reporting back. I guess I just would like some indication, or would have liked some indication on, where that money would be prioritised, or what the deliverables may be able to be based on that. I know that they didn't get funding from Tasman District Council. There was a very long list within the action plan, and I guess, and maybe it's about, just ensuring that it's actually our priorities that are delivered on, rather than necessarily.
Ms McDonald's going to be writing an amended recommendation now, so that, because you're talking and you'll be writing it. So
Sorry, I'll just do a
please run, and I think it's fair and reasonable that we actually want to know what we're doing. Improves, subject to
subject to
agreement on a project plan or priorities, and annual review.
Madam Mayor, while we're waiting, could you just check with EJ that we did actually do on page 90 Nelson Tasman Business Trust, please?
Or page 90.
90, sorry, 90.
Yes, I don't know that, was there a recommendation?
Oh, no, there wasn't. Sorry, don't worry.
No,
No,
it's okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Some wording is coming.
The monitoring is built within the reporting requirements.
Okay, so Nikki will talk to this in a moment.
Just need to mention the annual plan. Consultation on annual plan, because I know there's no resolution, but.
Just while that's getting organised, just one matter that the Deputy Mayor's pointed out to me. On page 98, you'll see some commentary there around consultation on the annual plan. So I just asked the Chief Executive to I think we should just highlight this. At the moment on page 98, the officers are looking not to do a consultation process on the annual plan, but they'll have to come back, and it's an early heads up, but they'll be coming back to talk some more to you about that in terms of how that process will work. Pat, just your thoughts on that at this stage?
Well,
Noticing we're going to have variations to the LTP.
It has been a comprehensive long-term plan process. We know that we'll have to be consulting on the regional land transport plan. We know that we'll be probably consulting on Three Waters, and then we will be consulting on the Marina Master Plan, and then there may also need to be an amendment to the long-term plan as well. So we just think that probably with the amount of consultation that we're proposing that we see set out in front of us already, not counting minor consultations and bylaws, etc., that there is already a significant amount of consultation fatigue in the community. So unless there is something startling turns up, we think that we should be taking advantage of the opportunity the legislation provides and give our staff a break, give our community a break, and not commit to an annual plan consultation in year one.
Right, some quick questions on that one, although we can come back to it, Councillor Brand and then Councillor Eager.
Thanks. So just one clarification, just on what Pat said then. That does not mean that we would drop or lose community communication with our community and informing them, because I get that you're saying about consultation fatigue and stuff like that. I just want to ensure that you definitely do not mean a drop in communicating what's happening from council with the community on that topic.
No, that wasn't the intention at all, but we would simply not be going out calling for formal submissions, having hearings and running a process like we have just been through.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to clarify that did not include the communication. And my second thing is clarification. This is the group that we initially set up with the intention that TDC would become a part of the funding with, and then they didn't. Is that my thing?
Yes.
So the benefit is across the region. It's not just the benefit of here.
Yes, so we're going to have some, it's just like the NRDA, we're going to have some very direct
So my
questions
view
around that.
from the earlier conversation then hasn't changed on that point, because of that point. Not about the work they've done, the contribution they've made is great and it aligns, but it's just a sticking point for myself.
Thank you. Councillor Eager?
Yes, look, I'm supportive of not doing a formal annual plan process.
Look, I just wonder, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Now we've got the result. I'd actually quite like to deal with this one if we could, and then we'll come back to that, because there's no decision to be made today on the annual plan. I'll come back to that commentary, but I just want to get all the decision making done. Yep. So, Councillor Laurie, a question on the resolution around 100,000 for the climate forum?
No, I did have a question around the annual plan consultation.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. All right.
Question around the Nelson Tasman Business Trust.
When we're done, all right. So I'm going to move that we approve in principle provision of 100,000 per annum for years 1 to 3, including the annual 50,000 funding allocated for community climate change projects in those years, subject to green on priorities and reporting requirements. And I absolutely take on board the fact that that this is something that we're going to have to work through in terms of how that is focused. I can see that is, and I absolutely respect the views that have been expressed, particularly by Councillor Brand and the principle of how she will vote on this. Absolutely respect that. I also really feel that the quality of that climate action plan that came forward was extremely high, and the level of engagement now, it's really the time to build on it, but I do think we need to have some absolute clearer priorities and reporting, and so it's subject to that agreement. So I'm going to move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fulton, thank you. I'm going to put the motion. All those in.
Can I just
speaking to it
really briefly? I would anticipate, and subject to agreement on priorities and reporting requirements, that we will have to have a really hard look at where that climate forum is delivering to, and that it needs to be Nelson focused. If Nelson's funding it, it needs to be Nelson focused. So if I don't know if I can persuade someone to maybe change their mind, I feel that would be the expectation in terms of that last part of that recommendation, that this might be called the Nelson Tasman Climate Forum, but if only Nelson's funding it, then we need to be doing the work.
Okay, and Councillor Bowe was just talking about for the number of years. I think it is better to keep it 1 to 3, but because there's reporting requirements each year, you'll be getting a report and going. If you feel it's not delivering, then that's where you say. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
No.
It's carried on voices. Happy with that? Yes. All right, thank you. Now, back to the annual plan discussion. Let's just deal with any other decisions, and then Councillor Courtney.
Thank you. On page 90, the Nelson Tasman Business Trust, I think we must have, well, I feel we've just floated over the top of this one and missed it, but they did ask for an additional 30,000 per annum. Now, why I'm raising it is because I have a note here that when I questioned them when they came before us, they said they hadn't had an increase in their funding for 20 years. Now, if anyone else remembers that, that would be helpful to me. Oh, you do? I thought you might.
CPI only.
Yes, yes. So I just wondered whether they were so, well, they care for small business. And I know you'll say the NRDA do a lot of their work, but that's not correct. They do not. And they were a tremendous help to individual businesses in the way of support, just as the NRDA were as well. But these people were too. They're volunteers, except for one full and one part-time person, I understand. So I would like you to think about that.
Councillor Courtney, I think there might be enough goodwill in the room at this point that I actually think there will be funding opportunities through the Regional Skills Leadership Group, just looking at government funding, especially the announcements today with a focus, but in the gesture of absolute goodwill and recognition of the hard work, the Deputy was signalling to that she'd be happy to increase the funding by 10,000 per annum.
Oh, that's fantastic.
If you felt that that was, and
I was happy to go the additional 30,000.
I think then I'm starting to get to I'm really starting.
So I'm not sure what Councillor Courtney was leading to. So I don't want to.
I know they would be grateful for anything. They deserve a fair hearing.
No. So just Councillor Eggers just advised me that Tasman District Council increased their funding by 10,000 per annum. I'm not sure they come off the same base to us though. No. So what do they put in?
So we put in 39,000 a year and they put in 15.
Righty-ho. Okay, but the proportionality of where their workers has actually come across to Nelson, which is interesting. So look, there we are. If you want to move the two, up to you two.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know that we are increase the, what is it called? What is it? What do we give them?
Business trust.
A quick
Here
question,
it comes.
if
It's on
possible.
its way.
Quick question.
Quick question for Councillor Skinner.
I see they're asking for $30,000 to enable them to extend the support by employing an additional staff member. And so my notes here, I was happy to support their request of 30K for an additional staff member. Is 10K going to enable that? Are we just giving them something which will mean they can't? I know.
Through the chair, so they were talking about us putting in some and they were seeking additional funding elsewhere. So they still have that possibility and they can do the number of hours that they can afford. So it wouldn't necessarily need to be.
Okay, so whatever we do will enable. I support us doing something at least up to support what the table will give on that.
All right. Fine. I'm going to. No, it's the Nelson Tasman Business Trust. Yeah, Nelson Tasman Business. Thank you. Right. Everyone happy with that? I'm going to
Turn and to N, N additional.
put it, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. The mover was Councillor Egger and Councillor Courtney was the seconder. There we go. Now back to the annual plan questions. Councillor Egger, then Councillor Laurie. Just literally final thing. Can I just ask, usually at the end of this, we do a whole wrap up to go. We now remove the in principles and we go through. Some of them were redone in principles. Is there some way that without EJ and Robin having to go and cascade them all through, we could do the final pause to say we're now confirming all of the decisions, confirming the decisions made today that are in principle are now actual, whatever the word is. I need some wording down. Do you think that would be possible? Now, the governance advisors need to give some advice to the Chief Executive on that. They'll have a conversation while we talk annual plan. Annual plan. Thank you.
Yes, so as noted, I was supportive of this and I'm just hoping someone will listen. I'll get to you. Hi. I'm just hoping that we'll be able to use the opportunity of not having to do this formal process to probably enhance our comms and also that community engagement, because I think the sort of the pre-engagement, the discussions that our staff and councillors have in those more informal settings actually is richer, and the more we can have those on a regular basis rather than, I mean, consultation processes do not build relationships, but if we can actually, you know, use that opportunity to build our engagement and relationships, then I'm very supportive of this.
Yes, through the chair, absolutely. I think that, and that is what a number of other councils do, use that opportunity. Although, as the CE said, we may be out doing a lot of consultation with them anyway.
All right, Councillor Laurie.
Thanks. So how much will this save us? And does that money come off our long-term plan?
Through the chair, I would say the bulk of the savings will actually be staff time, and we haven't tried to quantify that because it's an enormous amount of time and also elected member time. And if the extra consultation we're expecting around these other government legislative changes happen, it will probably not be much different.
Trying to keep it cost neutral, trying to find a method. Okay, Councillor Skinner's got a question.
Cool, just getting on the procedure, we've got through the day, we've covered everything, and as far as the long-term plan, and now we're needing to reiterate those sort of things we put in principle, that we put it in stone, what we're deciding.
Yes, and that it forms what goes off to the final to go through audit. And this is the one where you know that you will have voted, you know at this stage, you may have voted against things, but you know the majority of elected members voted for them. So this is where you do the decision of, I might have voted against that, but I'll support the decision of council, because when you do the whole suite together, you go, they were the decisions of council and I will support the decision.
And I know it's late.
Your vote is still recorded.
Yeah, understand that. And I know in previous times we've all taken an opportunity to give us a speech on what we think, happy or not happy with this law, and I'm not going to lead there, but obviously we're spending a lot of money for a lot of things to put on the shoulders of our community. We don't know yet what that number is.
Between 5.7 and 5.8 probably. Somebody's sitting in there.
For the first year, or you talking each?
No, for the
First year, yeah.
And the rest of the same.
Yep.
Well, that's fine. We've just spent a lot of money, good and bad, and so what we sign off now is concrete. We goes off to audit, and then we do any other.
You'll be coming, you'll be coming back to do the adoption, and I'm quite happy for you all to do your speeches at the adoption one. Okay?
When's that? Sorry, on
the 24th of June. Okay, so you'll be happy to do those, and in fact, I'll even make some time if I've got a council meeting in between that to do a recap.
Okay, everyone's worked.
The only other option I have is I have to call you all back again on Tuesday to do it. And what we're trying to do at the moment is we are sitting, as we talked at the start of this, we've got time booked with audit. You remember how that worked? Some councils didn't make their deadlines and they didn't get through, because if you lose your slot, then it's very hard to get back in the slot. So we're trying to just make sure we retain that. Councillor Brand?
Just on the audit thing, if the audit on Tuesday doesn't go favourably, what's the process?
If it doesn't go favourably, in other words, they have concerns about the process that we used or other things, then Mr. Mackey will be ringing me, and I will be walking through to Chief Executive's office and asking Patrick what's happened. So.
If she calls me Patrick, it's always a bad sign.
I'm not. I haven't identified it. I'm looking at Nikki, and Nikki, they've worked their way through all the steps. And Pat, you're comfortable?
And look, we met with Mr. Mackey last week, and he's pretty happy with how things are going and the cooperation he's getting. So. So we wouldn't be surprised if there's some small stuff around the edges that we have to clarify, etc. But we're not expecting that we're going to get a reject. That's for sure. We would have known long before now if that was the case.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is this is the confirmation of all decisions made in, we confirm all decisions made in principle. Is that correct? Restated below.
Just spell principle differently.
Confirms all.
Principles.
Confirm.
Yeah.
You will work on that. So I just need to have something that confirms all decisions made in principle as part of the, is it as part of the deliberations? I should say that as part of the deliberations. So it's basically that council confirms all decisions made in principle. No, it doesn't make sense. That the council.
Yeah, we need to do,
That are restated below might be there as well. As restated below.
Confirms all decision made in principle as part of the deliberations restated below as the final decisions to inform the the long-term plan, final long-term plan. Okay, that's it.
yeah.
21, 23, 33, sorry, 21.
31.
Okay, that's it. All right, confirms all decisions made in principle as part of the deliberations restated below as the final decisions to inform the final long-term plan 2021-2031. Okay, we've got them there, we know what they are.
Yes.
All right, we do. I've done all them all today. So some we did in principle, remember, but some we haven't, and so they'll go and put them there. Okay, I will so move.
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor. I'm going to just thank you very much for staying to do this and really being engaged all the way through this. I think as we've sat here today, I think our colleagues would have, if they've been watching, I'm sure by now if they've finished their engagements, they're home watching YouTube and they'll be with us thinking it's the right thing to do. I particularly want to thank Councillor Laurie for staying on Zoom for so many hours. It's incredibly difficult to do that. Really, really appreciate you doing that, especially when you're not feeling well. It's actually been really helpful, and thank you for your help, particularly with the library report, trying to do that remotely. It was much appreciated. So to all of you, thank you very much. Particularly thank you to all of our staff team. It's a massive job. We'll come back and do our proper full speeches as we normally do, if that's all right with everyone. Councillor Skinner, we'll do that when we bring this back for adoption. And I'm ready now to put the motion. Everyone's happy with that?
Quick thank you to some viewers. There's still viewers.
Are there still viewers? Oh,
Still tuned in.
James.
Councillor
James.
Yes, has he? Oh, well, could we just do a big shout out to Youth Councillor James?
Get away.
Thank you, James. You're still with us. You're still with us. You're just our absolute champion for the council chamber, and we just thank you very much. And thank you very much for the advice yesterday about speaking quickly and less. I don't know that we achieved that. It is now 20 minutes past 9. But thank you anyway, James.
Just one thing from me, if it's okay.
Yes, mate, it's absolutely fine.
Thank you. EJ, could you please pat Robin on the back? Because Robin has been a legend, sending me the recommendations, answering questions, just been absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much, Robin.
Thanks, Matt.
Awesome.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Robin, and thank you, EJ. You're an incredible team, and thank you to the rest of the team that were here supporting us through the previous days. Go well with the next things you've got to do. All right, I'm now going to put the motion. All those in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We're going to close with karakia today because it's worthy of a karakia.
No.
Oh, thanks. Okay. It too. Yeah, we're all up. Okay, here we go. Tanya wants to join in. She's welcome. We're going to do tuia. Tuia ki rongo, tuia ki raro, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho, tuia te here tangata, ka rongo te po, ka rongo te ao, Huye, huye, dai, kie, kia ora.
Kia ora.
Closing the meeting. Thank you very much.